Hello everyone, Storm11 here. Today we'll be having a short and sweet update on a major storm system that is going to bring in major impacts from parts of the Southern Plains all the way up into the Northeast. It's going to bring in more snow, an ice storm, some isolated flooding problems, and even a severe weather risk. We'll be going a little bit more detail with the severe weather risk that be going on for parts of Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and even parts of the Florida Panhandle as well. Could see an elevated severe weather risk tomorrow. Now, before I get started this video, if you guys do like weather related content, you can subscribe to my channel. We do this stuff here all the time on this channel here as well. And I also want to give a quick announcement really quick. I want to go and get this out first, then last, because I know not everybody's going to watch the video. Let's be honest. Um, I am going to be personally impacted by this ice storm. I am. And there's definitely a chance that I'm going to have a power outage. If you've seen on Twitter, you probably see me released an ice storm, ice accumulation, sleet, and snowfall forecast for the state of Kentucky. And where I put myself into, I'm currently forecasting my area to have a half an inch to 3/4 of an inch of ice. And with that, there's definitely a decent chance that I'm not going to have a power, that I'm going to have a power outage. So if you guys don't see me post any videos tomorrow or the next couple days, that's going to be the reason why. Is that I don't have power. And in order to make these videos, I need power. My computer takes electricity. So yeah, I'm not going to be able to make videos during a power outage. That's just not going to be possible. However, I will make periodic updates on my Twitter account as well. So if you guys do want to follow me on Twitter, I do have the link in the description down below. You guys can follow me on there as well if you guys want to as well. So I kind of wanted to put that out way because then again, not only be impacts to my area, it will also make impacts to the channel itself as well, how videos will be uploading as well. So we got that announcement out of the way. We're getting started with the watch warning advisory display, and there's a lot of stuff going on here. Uh, we got a flood watch for parts of Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee. That goes up into parts of Kentucky, West Virginia. You can see a couple of them up there in the parts of West Virginia. There's going to be an isolated flood risk in some of those areas in there. That'll continue into tomorrow. But the biggest story is going to be this big winter storm. You got winter storm warnings for parts of Colorado, New Mexico, Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, Arkansas, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky, Michigan, Pennsylvania, New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. That's a lot of states. That's named for part of the state that's in a winter storm warning. The purple boxes here are winter weather advisories. You got a lot of them in Texas, and you got some counties in the parts of the South with winter weather advisories, and you get these dark purple shades in the parts of northeastern Arkansas, northwestern Tennessee, far northwestern Mississippi, southern Illinois, the foothills of Missouri, southern Indiana, and into a good chunk of Kentucky. Those are ice storm warnings, and that's where we're going to experience at least 1/4 of an inch of ice. Some areas have a chance to see a half an inch to 3/4 of an inch of ice, which is significant. Some of these winter storm warnings out ahead of it, it's pretty much for the same reason. There, honestly, it'll make a little bit more sense. Yes, we'll have a little bit of sleet and snow, but it honestly makes a little bit more sense if we have an ice storm warning out there instead of just a winter storm warning. It just kind of makes a little bit more sense to me. But anyway, these dark blue boxes here, we still got winter storm watches for parts of Pennsylvania, New York, Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine as well. Those folks up there could see some icing issues as well. Okay, usually in this range here, we look at our high resolution models. Well, we're not going to do that this time. Why? The models are having a really tough time with this setup here. Number one, they're off with the temperatures by quite a bit. The HER model is the worst one. With the observations out in western Kentucky, the HER model is off by 4 degrees, 4 or 5 degrees in some places. And that's really off. And that's kind of a poor performance from some of the higher resolution models, you will think that higher resolution models will have a better handle. I don't think they're not going to have a good handle with this setup here, and I don't think they're going to be very accurate. Also, something I want to mention real quick, I mentioned this yesterday, that the HER model and the rapid refresh, for some reason on the precipitation type maps, they're not accurate. You will notice at times it shows like a widespread swath of sleet and not much freezing rain. Well, in reality, that's not accurate. If you check out some of the forecast soundings, which we talked about that on the last video, about how you can identify precipitation types using a forecast sounding, they're actually freezing rain in reality. So you got to use them with caution as well. So we're not going to look into the HER or the rapid refresh. We're just going to show you guys, or I am going to show you guys, the model that's been doing good so far, and it's been the most consistent. And some of you guys may be surprised, it's actually the GFS model that's been doing good so far in the setup here than the rest of the models. The European model's a little bit similar, but that's also pretty off on the temperatures as well. But the GFS is the closest with some of those observations as well. So we'll be checking out the GFS model by region. We'll start off by the south central US, where we got quite a bit of snow going on across parts of Oklahoma and Texas. Can be heavy at times as well. Meanwhile, in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, you guys are getting close, or if you guys are not in already, with some of that freezing rain. It could be heavy at times as well. And something to remember that heavy freezing rain doesn't accumulate as well as light to moderate freezing rain. That should be noted as well. That's why we always say that with these ice accumulation maps, they're going to be well overdone, which we'll check them out in a moment. But anyway, Dallas-Fort Worth, either way, it's going to be icy. The roads are going to be pretty treacherous down there. They're going to be very slick. So definitely have to be careful if you're going to be on the roads out there as well, especially tomorrow. And you can see here over the next several hours how Dallas and Fort Worth area and a good chunk of Texas just get hit by multiple rounds of freezing rain and even a decent amount of sleet as well. We can certainly see some sleet accumulations out there as well. And at the same time, you do have a decent amount of snow with it as well, which we could see some accumulations out of it as well. Let's talk about the ice accumulations. And then again, it's going to be overdone. And I would say in the highest amount regions, take it off maybe about a quarter of an inch, and that'll probably be your most accurate look. So first, some of the highest totals, like for example here in northeastern Texas, it's got about 9/10 of an inch of ice. If you take it off by maybe about a quarter of an inch to 3/4 of an inch, in reality, it might just be only about a half an inch of ice. So then again, you have to take them off by a little bit because it's calculating heavy freeze rain, and how you're getting these numbers here. It only shows of how much rain falls out of the sky, and you just get these numbers here, pretty much, with below freezing temperatures, of course. Um, but that's how you're getting these numbers here. But if you're going to get heavy freeze rain, it's not going to accumulate very well. Most of it is just going to run off, basically. So, yeah. On that, and you can see here some of them higher accumulations do get into parts of Arkansas, and then so you get some pretty good ice amounts along the Mississippi River up into northwestern Tennessee, and eventually up into southwestern Kentucky as well, with some pretty high ice amounts. Now, something I've learned here earlier today, that on average, a quarter of an inch of ice on power lines can equal 500 pounds. So ice is very heavy. That's something that should be noted. So imagine getting a half an inch ice. That'd be 1,000 pounds on the power lines. And then when you get to a 3/4 of an inch, that'd be 1,500 pounds. That's when you start to really get major issues. And that's also when you start to get widespread power outages at that point as well. Ice is very heavy as well. So you cannot imagine how much weight it's going to be on some of these power lines and trees as well. You definitely cannot forget about the trees. There's certainly going to be a decent amount of tree damage out there as well. So it's certainly a significant ice storm for sure, with some of those forecasted ice accumulations that could be as high as a half an inch in some places. And as we get a little further northeast, there could be isolated higher totals than that as well. Let's check out the snowfall accumulation forecast from the GFS from now till the rest of the event, which will take a moment to load here. And there we go. So you can see here, it has quite a bit of snow, but I'll take it off maybe about a couple inches, and that's probably a more accurate way. Either way, there's going to be a lot of snow out there from parts of central Texas through parts of Oklahoma, going up into parts of Missouri, and kind of beyond, all the way up into parts of Ohio and southeastern Michigan. It's going to see quite a bit of snow out of this system as well. So that's pretty much the South Central U.S. Finished. Let's go to the Ohio Valley. And this is an area that could experience some pretty impressive ice accumulation. Some of the highest out of this event is in the parts of the Ohio Valley. So let's get to precipitation type and rate. So you can see here early on, mostly everybody's going to be rain at this point here. And here comes your second wave coming in. And then again, for the same thing, it's spitting out heavy freezing rain. And the good news with heavy freezing rain, then again, it doesn't really accumulate as well. Just in the north, you got a lot of sleet going on. We can definitely see a lot of sleet accumulations, or higher sleet accumulations, I should say. When we're talking about sleet accumulations, it could be anywhere from maybe a half an inch, could be as high as 2 inches some places. Maybe some places may be able to get well over 2 inches of sleet. I mean, that's a lot of sleet. Sleet is tiny ice pellets. It really is. And you can see some of these areas here just getting multiple rounds of just freezing rain. Some of it could be heavy at times. And you can see how some of that freezing rain does line up a little bit as you kind of get into Thursday night as well. Meanwhile, you got a lot of snow going on the north side here. Can be heavy at times across parts of Missouri, southern Illinois, central southern Indiana, up into central Ohio. Could see multiple rounds of some moderate to heavy snow as well. And some of the snow can linger into Friday morning for some areas as well. And that could lead to some light snowfall accumulations over areas that get a lot of ice. And that's a similar situation with sleet as well. And if we check out the ice accumulation map, waiting for it, and then again, take it off by a quarter of an inch, 3/10 of an inch on some of these amounts here, and that being a more accurate prediction from the GFS. And that goes the same way for pretty much every other model. So, but you kind of get an idea here where some of your heaviest amounts are going to be either way. Some of your heaviest amounts could begin in eastern Arkansas, northwestern Mississippi, for western Tennessee, over a good chunk of Kentucky, and eventually goes up into parts of southern Ohio, and eventually up into southwestern Pennsylvania as well. Could certainly see some elevated um, ice accumulations. And then again, with the heaviest areas, take it off maybe about a quarter of an inch, maybe 3/10 of an inch. So, for example, it's got 9/10 of an inch in Lexington, Kentucky. If you take it off maybe about 3/10 of an inch, it'd probably be about 6/10 of an inch. So then again, these models are going to be overdone with these ice accumulations as well. Now for the lighter accumulations, like further south here, maybe below 2/10 of an inch, that's actually going to be a little bit more accurate because the rates down there are going to be much lighter than what's going on in these heavier bands as well. We're going to check out the snowfall as well. And here you go. Then again, these amounts are going to be a little bit overdone. But either way, there's going to be a lot of snow up here. GFS is spitting out a swath of 12 to 15 inches of snow. And you probably have to take it down by a couple of inches of snow, and that'd be more of an accurate number here. And you can see how those amounts do continue up into the northeast, which is going to be our next area of interest, or the next area that's going to get impacted later down the road. So let's go back to precipitation type and rate. So then again, the parts of Northeast will experience some mixing issues, freezing rain and sleet, but it won't be as significant as areas a little bit further south. Some of these areas will be experiencing some mixing for a shorter period of time. You'll have some areas further southwest that could experience freeze rain up to 10 or 11 or 12 hours. So now for up here, it won't be as long. Maybe it could last for a couple hours or several hours, but it won't be as long as what's going to be going on further southwest. But you can definitely tell on the north side, though, a lot of snow going on. Can certainly be heavy at times as well. And really, eventually by Friday night, the system does move away. But for most areas in the New England states, your event really begins by tomorrow morning. And some areas can experience snow for a long period of time as well. And that's going to lead to some pretty good snowfall totals up there. So we'll check out the ice accumulations, and you can see here some of these amounts are going to be overdone. Take it off maybe about a quarter of an inch, and that's probably how much you could see. Like for northeast of Pennsylvania, it's got half an inch. It'll probably be more of a quarter of an inch. I think for most areas, it's going to be anywhere from a tenth of an inch to a quarter of an inch of ice. There might be some areas that could get well over a quarter of an inch of ice, but it won't necessarily be enough to cause tree damage or widespread power outages. Power outages will probably be mainly isolated to scattered, but it'll definitely be enough ice to cause major travel problems as well. Even just a little bit of ice can make travel conditions very difficult. I mean, it'd be hard to drive on icy roads, certainly. Now, if we check out the snowfall accumulation from the GFS, and then again, these amounts are going to be overdone, but either way, there's going to be a significant amount of snow. I'll say probably anywhere. I think at max it could be up as high as 18 inches. I think it's going to mainly be a swath of a foot to 18 inches of snow for parts of the Northeast. And you can see here it goes from northern Ohio, northwest of Pennsylvania, pretty much most of New York, most of Vermont, New Hampshire, and for a good chunk of Maine as well. That's going to see quite a bit of snow out of the system as well. So certainly this system here is going to be a big time snow and ice maker. And here's the National Resource forecasts here. So in these orange shades here, that's 12 to 18 inches of snow. The darker yellow, that's 8 to 12. And then you got the lighter yellow, that's 6 to 8. Dark blue, 4 to 6. And some of the lighter blue colors, that's anywhere from 2 to 4 inches as well. The legend is on the left side of your screen as well. And you can see on this map here, there's going to be a lot of snow out there, certainly. But really, the biggest problem is going to be ice accumulation. And you can see here, in the reds is where we have the biggest concern. In the red shades, that's where we're going to expect to see at least a quarter of an inch of ice. And it could get up as high as a half an inch, which in this case here, it's got northeast of Pennsylvania having a little over half an inch of ice. And that's a little bit on the isolated side of things, so. But as you get further to the southwest, you do see here that half an inch to three-quarters of an inch becomes a little bit more widespread. You got a little spot in central Kentucky, and then you got this big swath from southern Arkansas that goes through northwestern Tennessee into southwestern Kentucky. And unfortunately, that's going through some of the same areas that got hit hard by some of the violent tornadoes almost 2 months ago. So yeah, this really sucks here for some of those areas down there that got hit hard by the tornadoes, and now they're going to experience a significant ice storm. I mean, that's just unbelievable down there. But either way, the system here is going to bring in a lot of snow and quite a bit of ice. If you are in a threat for an ice storm, be prepared for a power outage. Have plenty of food, water. It's highly recommended not to drive on the roads. You can drive in snow, okay, but in ice, it's going to be very difficult. And for some places, it'll be nearly impossible to drive on. Not only the roads will be very icy, but some of those trees and power lines can block roadways, and could be trapped as well. If you're going to use a generator, or if you're going to use a generator anyway, please use it properly. Okay, most of deaths in ice storms have been the misuse of generators. What will happen is some people will put them closer to their house or in their garage, and when it happens, because generators produce carbon monoxide and it's a poisoning, and when you breathe in it so much, it makes you pass out. But for the longer passed out, you keep on breathing in more, and unfortunately, you die. So, yeah. please use them properly. Just put them away and outside of your house. Okay, if you're going to use a generator. Hopefully the deaths this time, hopefully we don't get any, but unfortunately I'm afraid we're going to have a few deaths out of this ice storm as well. We cannot sleep on the severe weather risk. So this is tomorrow. I know they got a marginal risk out there, but don't be surprised if they get upgraded to slight risk. But for right now, they got a marginal risk for southeastern Louisiana, southern Mississippi, central and southern Alabama, and the far western tip of the panhandle of Florida as well. So in all hazards are possible. You got low and tornado risk, hail, and wind will also be a possibility as well. We're going to check out the herd model for the severe weather potential here. And you can see here, there's going to be it's got some pretty good storms showing up out here. It's got most of them clustering up, but any isolated cell out there has the chance to produce a tornado or become a supercell. If it does become organized, it has a pretty good chance of producing a tornado. There's going to be plenty of wind shear out there and instability to get some severe weather going. So this is the sounding southeast central Mississippi, and you can see here, that's a pretty good sounding. Storm rate to felicity values are anywhere from 250 to almost 400. I mean, that's a good amount of wind shear. Instability values, surface-based instability, 1300. That's pretty favorable for severe weather. Even the hodographs as well, it's favorable for tornadoes as well. So given by this environment, it is favorable for all hazards as well. So if you do live in southeastern Louisiana, southern Mississippi, yeah, even up into parts of Alabama as well, which I know right now, checking that sounding up there, those instability values do not make it up there yet, really until later in the day at that point as well. But either way, there's a severe weather risk for parts of Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and even parts of the Florida Panhandle as well. So if you do live in those areas, please stay weather aware tomorrow. But anyways, guys, this is all for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys like this video, hit the like button. If you do like my channel, hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell notifications so you never miss an upload. If you guys have questions about this, put the comment section down below. Alright, so guys, questions. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.